How many times have I heard there's no money in architecture? You should go into this if you want money. You should go into that if you want money.
I had to find ways to make money outside of architecture.
My energy bills have doubled.
That rubbish, that architects,
Honestly.
this is what we do. We do all-nighters. We don't sleep. We work so hard.
I sleep.
It's rubbish. We need to stop that.
Just naive to say that, money doesn't make the world go round. It does. And it's a privilege if you are able to choose passion over survival.
But when I actually got into the profession and I realised, there's actually not a lot of people like me from my background.
It's minority working class. The pay that you get paid is not just for you. Like, it's not just for you. I just hope you understand that. It's just not for you. Just, Bola,
You're not telling a lie.
Am I lying? It's not for you. It's for you, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your auntie, your this. Because
church.
your church. You're
Giving time. Welcome back to another episode of the 1 to 100 Architecture Podcast, where we delve into everything design related, shed some light on our personal experiences, and help you in understanding the architecture realm. So this is season 3. So it's called No Offence. So every title of season 3 is going to be No Offence, but something. So this came out of a need to be affronting or displeased in order to create a more defined career path for people that look just like us. So all we ask is for you guys to be open-minded and just to kind of take everything we say with a pinch of salt, because it is your life and it's your career path too. So my name is Amanda and I'm here with the girls, here with Adonai, Basma, Ray, Cindy, and our very special guest, Bola. And Bola is just incredible.
Wow.
That's where we're going to start, because he's such a huge influence in the architecture community, probably more than he knows. And he's currently... you like that one?
It's a good start. It's a good start. Let's keep on going.
Just have to, create the vibe.
Okay.
So Bola is a creative multidisciplinary designer who's also an advocate for working with the community and using emerging technological advancements as he... Jeez, big words.
Hey, the dictionary is there for everyone.
Big word.
As part of the participatory design process. So he won the Bond Bryan Prize for the best integration of technology and environmental strategies within architectural design at undergraduate level, and is currently working at the renowned international practice Fosters and Partners, whilst also undertaking the apprenticeship at Oxford Brookes University, level 7. Let me just say level 7, because not level 6 is level 7. Okay. So Bola also had his own podcast, the Migrants Bureau. So he is just on fire with the amount of things that he's doing. But I don't want to talk too much, so I want to actually hand over to you to kind of just tell us about what you're doing right now, like where you at, like what's going on with you.
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me.
No worries.
It definitely is a pleasure. And it's a bit nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie. But I'm sure as the podcast keeps on going,
Definitely.
I'll be free. But me, what am I doing right now? That's an interesting question.
It's mad.
Because in reality, I've probably gone a bit underground right now. And that's just because I'm trying to finish my architectural degree and officially become an architect. It's been a long journey. And there's not much time left, probably a couple of months. But by the grace of God, I'll get there to the end.
Amen.
And yeah, I'm just working hard right now.
But yeah, so I think the first question I kind of wanted to start off with is something that we talk about in quite a few of our episodes, and about having experience and kind of trying to, start from somewhere, like getting your foot through the door. And I think even in one of the episodes, we kind of spoke about do you even need to be a Part 1 architect to perform some of the roles that are in practice? I think anyone that knows how to use CAD and anyone that read Francis Ching's book can probably do some of the roles of a Part 1 architect. So my first question is, why is there so much emphasis on having prior experience, firstly, if the salary is so low? What's the What's the need?
Wow. I don't think there's a correlation, you know,
No,
between experience and
the
the salary.
salary.
I think they're two separate things.
Wow.
And I actually think that you don't really need experience as people say that you do. I guess it makes it easier. And especially, I think I've worked at different scale practices. Like I worked at a very small team of about 10 people. Then I worked at teams with thousands of people. And honestly, when you're in a small practice, I think that's when experience is probably more helpful to the practice, because they probably need someone to get there and go. And like they don't really want to be teaching people.
Mm.
But when you're at a bigger practice, they're probably gonna give you training at the very beginning. They're gonna probably not spoon. Wow,
English.
Yeah, let me just negate that word. They're probably gonna like train you essentially to do the role. So it's kind of strange because the salary is really based on, I would say, standards which have been set by big authorities in architecture.
Definitely.
But now, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think because it changes so drastically between people I knew that went to part one, some part ones I knew were getting like, you know, they were in trenches.
Okay.
We're talking like 20k, 19k.
Mm-hmm.
That's peak.
That's even good.
17.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this in London?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I knew some people that were like doing on like 23, 22.
24.
Some people
Yeah,
24.
24. I heard 24.
You know what I'm
But-
talking about.
So yeah, and you know, the work they were doing was pretty much the same. It just depended on where
How
they
much
were,
experience, yeah.
who they were working for. That was where, as you say, the standard was set. I think that's actually probably for most jobs now. Like, you know, some people will kind of look at the architecture part one salary and be like, wow, that's a little bit low.
It's a little
for
bit
the-
steep.
for the title of architectural assistant, but actually it is pretty dependent on where you go.
Yeah. I think it's quite interesting because I was having a look at like salaries in comparison to like other undergraduate degrees. So, you know, once you finish your studies, where you should kind of be financially, and it's incredible that like the sort of average starting salary for a part one architect is 19 or 20k, which is you can actually earn the same thing by working as a waitress.
Like, how do you
In
even
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Even probably
Or earn a
more.
little bit more.
Just
without a
to be
degree.
specific.
without
That
a degree, without a
Yeah.
profession in something. And I just want to know, do you guys think do you think it's fair?
Of course not.
Like, it's
No.
not
It's not
really.
fair.
And what do you think maybe we can do to kind of change that, or what kind of things do you think we can do to influence decisions that are made in terms of like maybe salary or our ability to give more to practice? Because essentially we are providing a service, you know, and I think maybe the reason as to why we're underpaid is because it's undervalued. So yeah, what kind of things maybe do you think that we can do to influence the decision made on our behalf in terms of salary intake? It's a big question.
Can I take that? I think I say Reba because Reba is like obviously represents architects and everything, but I feel like they need to recognize first and foremost, and I'm talking about mainly, I would say London. London is expensive. Okay, London is very expensive, and you need to think about these are people that have spent 3 to 4 years, let's say part ones, studying and really struggling as well, because they know best that how it's not easy to study architecture. And you struggled, you've gone through the whole mental, physical path of graduating to live in London and to be paid 18k. That is a robbery. That is a robbery. Because you will go there and when not only that you get to the work, you will work extra because you want to learn the most. You will go the extra mile to impress, to do everything. You will work harder than everyone there as a part one. Because you're learning, constantly learning, you're making mistakes, you're correcting, you're doing that, and the work will pile on. I've spoken to so many people that are doing part one. that I'd be like, wow, the workload is
Mad.
extreme. It's extreme. And I feel like I worked the hardest there, and I feel like I don't even have people, like people will help you, but it still feels like you have to do it on your own because you have the degree. So why, if you are good enough to get the job, why are you not good enough to get paid? Especially when you live in London. Listen, as hard as it is, like transport, living, getting
Now I
to
felt
work.
that sideways.
Like getting to work is like, you live in London, it's £200 a month.
It's
Like
mad.
if you have to get train, tube, bus, £200 a month, you're getting paid
Exactly.
17k.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
How you gonna pay your bills? And if
Yeah.
you're paying rent, you're not. So it's not. I think I'm trying to say, it's not sustainable. The low pay is not sustainable, and that drives a lot of people to give up. It's like you want to create professionals that are gonna change the world. Then you should treat them
As professionals.
As professionals.
Yeah.
We're not just kids that have graduated from university. We are professional
Professionals.
architectural assistants that have the skills to become one of the greatest architects that are in the world. But if we're not, I feel like they make the path harder and harder because money is important. It's not just you're talented, you can work hard. You need the money. There are part ones that have kids. There are part ones that have dreams. They want to do certain things. They want to learn a course on AutoCAD that is £1,000. What are they gonna pay? How are they gonna pay for that? The people that want to upscale their skills with the money they're getting paid, but that is not possible because there's not the resources. So I just think Reba needs to consider that. Consider the cities people are living. Consider the circumstances of the world right now. Consider also that architecture is not a simple degree. They have all been, a lot of the professionals that work at Reba have been through that process, and they need to understand that we need to be recognized. And be recognized is not just to be called an architectural assistant. The pay needs to match the name. Period.
I don't even think it's just that part one level. It kind of goes all the way through.
Yeah.
And
I know.
there's a misconception between the way the public value the architect and what architects are actually being paid. There's such a big disparity, and it doesn't make sense because if everyone sees you as such, a lot of people really value and respect the architectural profession, and they'll be like, "Oh, you guys get big money, don't you?" And you have to bring them back down and be like, "No, like,
I wish."
But it's really surprising if they're expecting that we get paid that much. Why are we not being paid that much? I'm even in my master's, and we have a professional studies module, and they bring in people from different practices and talk on actual practice in the profession. How many times have I heard there's no money in architecture? You should go into this if you want money. You should go into that if you want money. I don't understand, like, is it because of how we manage the business as architects? Is it how we value our own time? If we're constantly doing overtime, are we not being realistic with the clients and being like, this is how long it's going to take? I think it's just on a greater level.
I think it's a bit of both. And I think you're right. We are being unrealistic with our clients. And we are a labor intensive industry. Like, we need lots of people to get something done. And we always want to do the best things.
Yep.
We always want to make sure we got the best work, makes it looks nice, so the client goes to you. And then the issue is now, I would say a big thing is that there's a lot of architects. And maybe previously, like historically, architects were given to the more, let's say, privileged part of society, people that were in a certain class. And essentially, you didn't have to earn a lot of money to just work there. You could have your money from, let's say, family or just from your livelihood, and you're able to still do architecture because you love it, you have the passion for it, and you don't need to worry about money. But the issue is now that it's become, in a way, like another job. And we live in, like you said, in London, one of the richest cities in the world. Prices are going up, inflation's going high. We need to match the salary to all these things that happen across the world. But I think there's a big issue, like you're saying, architects really don't value themselves when it comes to making that decision. We need to get paid for what we do and the value we're bringing to you as your like service providers.
Absolutely. I think from studying economics back in the good old days, there's obviously something called the circular flow of income, which means that, like, essentially, it doesn't always happen. If prices rise, essentially, you should also be getting paid more, so you can also keep up with the running of the social norms or with the economy. But because the part one salary has been the same for so long, I don't know. It's been the same for so long.
It's interesting you bring that up, because right now it's exactly what's happening with all the living costs going up. My God, my energy bills have doubled. Literally, quite literally doubled, to the point where my company have been like, okay, we need to raise your salaries because you guys quite literally will not be able to afford
to live.
Your company needs to ring my company.
Yeah, you can ring my own.
I'm not in architecture, so actually it'd be interesting. I don't know what your jobs are necessarily, what positions you're in, but have your companies actually discussed with you, because it's April, guys. The changes have come now. My bill is coming in 3 days, and all the companies I know of, not in architecture, have matched that and have gone to their employees and been like, okay, this is how much you need to get now. This is how much we need to raise it so that you can match the living standard now. But I want to know, you don't have to, you can't talk about it, don't worry. But
it's a bit of a sticky one.
Is that something that's also being done in architecture right now?
I can say I've never had the conversation. I've never even brought it up, though, to be honest. And that's just because I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare.
We shouldn't be scared.
No, we shouldn't be scared.
Because I think finance is about, it's life. In reality, we need money to survive. We live in a capitalist society. So we shouldn't be scared to talk about money. But I do think in architecture there is a PC culture that we can't talk about how much we earn. As architects, we have to keep it quite quiet. But then I think we need to start looking at ourselves and say, if you're not going to accept that salary, you need to be vocal about it. Say, these are the reasons why I can't accept this salary. Can we negotiate? Can we start talking about this more? Because I always think your starting salary doesn't have to be your ending salary.
Oh, say it again. I love that. No, 100%. And I think actually just going back onto that point, Bola, what should you do if your salary is not fulfilling you financially? Should you leave? Should you leave your job? Should you leave your career if it's going to be the same everywhere else? Like what do you do?
Do you want me to answer that first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think I could just talk from my standpoint. I would say from a young age, I've always been AKA a hustler.
Hustler.
Okay.
It's not that I love architecture and I've always been fond about it, but I have other talents which I like to use, and I feel like those are other avenues for me to make money. So ever since university, I've been in graphic designing, and that branched out and became a multimedia company. But I had to find ways to make money outside of architecture, because you're right. Maybe the initial starting salary is not wasn't able to keep up with the lifestyle I wanted to live.
Jeez. What lifestyle are you living? Tell us.
Luxury, soft life.
I'm not even saying I'm trying to keep up with London standards. It's a hard city. But you can do other things, and I don't think it should be frowned upon if you are an architect, but then you also have a side hustle. So many industries, you might be all podcasters right here, but they also have maybe a fashion line, or they're doing something else. And I think architecture feel like they have the freedom to do more than one thing.
Absolutely.
Also, just bouncing off from Bola and going back to your previous point, I feel like also architects need, or just in university, people need to stop making it okay to say that architects need to work a lot. Like, they need to stop that rubbish that architects,
Honestly.
this is what we do. We do all-nighters. We don't sleep. We work so hard.
I sleep.
It's rubbish. We need to stop that rubbish. Stop telling people on undergrad that it is normal to work 24 hours and it's normal to not get a reward from it. Like, oh, what you get is like, it's normal. Like, this is what you do. This is what's going to happen when you go in practice. You're going to work a lot. They're going to do this. You're not going to do all these things that they want to do. It's like, I feel like if you have an identity and you find your identity and your art style or however you do architecture, you should go for the firms that will allow you to do how you want to do it. And if you're not okay with it, as Bola said, speak up. People don't like to speak up because they're like, if I speak up, I'm going to get fired. Listen, there are multiple firms in this world. There's going to be a firm for you. You cannot, architects, and I feel like sometimes I just feel like architects just need to go on a strike. I just feel like people just need to just talk. People just need to just say, we've had enough of this BS.
You come back and that job will not be there.
No, because if everyone speaks, they can't fire everyone. Like, it's like TFL, they pay, listen, TFL buses, they get paid 55k, and the train drivers, they get paid 55k, and every single 2 days they're striking for more money because they speak up. And if you speak up, you will get heard. Like, that's what people need to do. Like, we need to speak up for what we want. Architects are just here crying, oh, we don't have money. But no one wants to speak up. We just cry in silence and come and speak about it on the podcast. But people, no, but it's true. We just, but people need to actually just like there's like, you know, there's, I don't know if there's unions or things like, people need to put their foot down and stand up and say, listen, NHS people do that all the time. Why does every group of professionals can do it, but we cannot do it because we feel like this is what we do. This is okay. Architecture, and people, my tutor used to tell me, and don't study architecture if you think you're going to make money. It's all about the heart. Stop it. Stop it. What's this rubbish? Because every job, every profession you do, you want to get money out of it.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in a minority, because we already struggle to get the job. I want to get paid for what I do. You know what I'm saying? I want to get paid good because we need to understand our worth and we need to stop complaining and blah, blah, blah. We just need to put our foot down and say, we need change. Reba, we need change. We need for us to be recognized and we need to get paid more because it's hard out here. Architects are the most depressed people one of the most top 10 depressed professionals. Do you know that?
Wow. Never knew that.
Do you know that? And architecture students are one of the highest suicidal rates.
I'm not surprised.
There needs to be a stamp. Someone needs to speak up. And I feel like it's all well and good that this is why this podcast is amazing because that's why we are here. This is why we are here. No offense, but your shit. Reba needs to do more. That's what I'm saying. We are not scared to speak up the truth. We need to do more. We need to stand up. We have so many great professionals. Like, this is great talents. Like, we have Adonai, Bethany, Amanda, Bola.
Okay,
so many talents that is like the way lawyers get the money. You see, lawyers go to school and they get the money. You know how much a lawyer makes on their first year? They make and the company they make 75k plus. Yeah, and architects we make the average as our kind. Amanda just stated it's like 19k. What a shame. What a shame. What a shame. It's discouraging. What a shame. Especially for everything that you go through when you're studying architecture, 19k. Hey, yeah, we.
Honest degree.
Yeah. We shared the same building with property.
In real estate.
Real estate.
Yeah.
Now that, just watching them walk around in their little suits and their little briefcases twice a week, in and out, with their little mop hairdos, and you know at the end of it,
they're gonna get money.
They're gonna get bank, and it's like, and you know how many people in our degree have gone and flipped over to property, had to throw away their pride because they were the same people that probably talking dust about those same property groups, and now they're on the other side because that's just where the money is, and it's a shame because it's it's just naive to say that, you know, money doesn't make the world go round. It does. And it's a privilege if you are able to choose passion over survival.
Ooh.
That is a privilege in itself, to be able to make that decision that you can do something without thinking about how much money it's going to make you. What a comfort that must be. Like, what a privileged position that must be for you.
I felt that.
But I think change is happening. I think we're in a generation now that people are speaking up. I feel like obviously back then, people, especially architects then, they were like very comfortable in their positions. But now we do have like FAF.
Future Architects Front.
Yeah. So they're basically challenging the topic that we're talking about now, about our salaries, about working overtime and not getting paid. And they're making that noise that needs to be heard. And Reba are hearing it, and they're even addressing it. So the fact that even Reba can recognize and hear their voices, whether they're going to change anything or not, at least we're being heard. At least there's a start there. So change is happening. It's just very slow, but it is happening.
And on that point, sorry, I'm feeling very fiery about this. I feel like change is happening, but it's not happening fast enough. The world is not waiting for us. We live now. We live in the most fastest world that we live in with TikTok. Everything is going at high standards. Listen, my rent is going up, and my pay ain't going up. Cough, cough, manager. But I'm saying, like, things are happening now. Things need to happen now because things are getting too expensive. And as Ray said, it's a shame that we're losing all these talents because people just can't afford to do what they're passionate about because it doesn't pay. People need to understand that. Because if you're not going to pay me, what's the point of 7 years in uni, 7 years of studying, 7 years that we own to the government, because it's not like they are paying us. So that's extra money. So we come in lacking because we're in debt. We're coming in, we finish a degree, and imagine finishing a degree. Everyone is in debt, but people are going to pay off. We cannot even pay off because we cannot. Do you know what? You don't even make enough to enter the stage where you're even paying.
That's funny.
You don't even get enough to be taking the £10 that they're going to take from your pay. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's why I said maybe it's a more radical idea. I understand, but I feel like generally the day architects will go on strike, I will go on the streets and shout and go, because I feel like it's all good and like, but when you don't protest, when you don't make a stand, the Reba is hearing. It's like, oh, we heard it, but they need to really hear, and I feel like that needs to come from a big company. You know, the small companies, they're not going to make noise. It needs to be big companies, big practices recognizing, and I feel like big practices they speak more volume because they have the bigger impact. They need to stand up and for their workers, for the people that work for them, for the people that spend hours and hours away from their families, away from other things that away from life, to give them the best products. And they need to be like, you know what? In order for us to be able to pay this is the changes that I need to do. So can you allow us to do those changes? You know? And I feel like people just need to stand up and speak. Because it's hard. Life is hard now. This is the hardest. We are unlucky, you know. It's so hard for us right now. I don't think our parents even understand how hard it is to be a young adult living in London. Forget London, living in the world right now. It's really hard. And I feel like we need help. We need help in every profession. We need to feel like somebody has our back. And right now, I feel like we are just left in the world like that. There's no parachute and we're just floating and hoping for the best.
I think just going off of that point, so like, obviously you're saying, like, basically who are we, when we like cry for help, who are we talking to, essentially? Because who is listening? We're going to the first person who's listening, but at this point, we don't know who it is. And so how does the architectural salary impact celery?
Celery.
Food. Hungry.
I'm hungry, innit? How does the architectural salary impact you being firstly, Black, working class, working in London, like how does that impact you, I guess, financially? How does it impact you emotionally, mentally? Like what does it do for you or to you?
I'm gonna take that one.
Okay.
You know what? Let's take a step back, because the architecture industry, when I joined, I was like, this is scary, because one, I had no one in my family that was in architecture, and I wanted to do it because my mum was like, she saw the skills that I had. She said, "You'd be good at this," and I said, "You know what? I trust you, so let me go through." So that's my journey into it. But when I actually got into the profession, and I realized, oh, there's actually not a lot of people like me from my background in this space. And you have to start thinking fast to really get where you want to be. Because it's hard. You're going to be facing pressures of, I never traveled a lot when I was younger. I did travel, went to a couple of countries, but you realize certain people have a different background. They have knowledge of architecture. Their uncle was in architecture, or their father is still an architect. And you're like, oh wow, I need to catch up, firstly in university, and then when you get into the profession, you're working with people that all the way around the world, and they've got so much experience. And you're like, there's so much you have to deal with. And then the second thing, you have the race, or your black card for me. And there's not a lot of black people in the profession. That's a well-known fact. And even you have surveys coming out now talking about the disparities in race in architecture. And it's a thing where, unfortunately, people are dropping out the stages because, one, we're talking about finance. Because it's not a lucrative industry at the beginning, you're going to drop out. But then also when it comes to the working culture, again, you're going to work with different people from different backgrounds. And if you're not used to certain types of lingo, or even...
Listen.
if you're not used to how people talk in a way...
the jargon.
You can be outcasted.
Absolutely.
So you have to find a way to, I guess, adapt. But I think one thing about, like I said, my people is that we're adapters. Any situation you'll find us in. I'm a Nigerian.
Nigerian boy.
Yoruba man.
And we're all the way across the world. You're all seeing us in different places. And I think that's one thing I take on in my identity, that no matter where I am, I need to adapt. I need to try to work hard to get there. But I don't even think I've asked you a question. Where was it?
No. I think you answered the question. I mean, I was basically asking, how does it, being black, or black British, black African British, whatever you want to be, how does that salary impact you? I mean, I think you've answered the question really well. You have to be adaptable to whatever situation that you're in, because essentially either you can laugh about it or you can cry about it. Really, that's the situation. I think what you said about the jargon as well is it's so interesting, because I think it was Randy that said, the studio is literally a microcosm of the working world. There are so many key phrases and things that you hear, conversations you hear, and you're like, I just don't understand what you're talking about. It's not that you're not speaking English, it's just that you're speaking a different English to the English that I grew up around. And it's something that you have to greatly adjust to, and it's hard. You're studying the profession, you're now working in the profession, and now you're also working to learn how to speak English again. It's a really, really difficult thing to get your head around. And to be honest, I do think that is the reason why some people leave. It's actually just acceptance, and the salary and the acceptance, and also being able to fulfill the roles. It is a lot mentally. It's a lot to take on, that kind of burden and responsibility. And I think being black in the architecture world is hard. Especially if okay, let me not even say being black, being from a working class black background in Britain is hard in the architectural world. It is very, very difficult. So there's Cindy, you want to say something?
Sorry, guys, I feel very selfish right now, but y'all know how I get heated when it comes to these things. But I just wanted to take that point because I feel that deep, because I feel like people just don't realize, especially being a minority. I'll say minority because you got like minorities, working class, just minority working class. The pay that you get paid is not just for you. Like, it's not just for you. I just hope you understand that. It's just not for you. Just, Bola.
You're not telling a lie.
Am I lying? It's not for you. It's for you, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your auntie, your this. Because your church.
Giving tithes.
Tithes on Sunday. Everyone, please pay your tithes. But it's like, it's not just for you.
Yeah.
You are, like, as immigrants, kids of immigrant, we are the pillar to your family. We are the ones who, we are important. This is why there's a lot of pressure for us, because your parents see you as the savior that's going to help the family move from this stage to another stage. You are elevating your whole family into a different level. So that's why it's hard for minorities to be in a position where you're not making enough money, especially when you're doing something that you're passionate, because it's not just you. You're not only relying on yourself. You have a whole community relying on you. And of course, people might say, but it ain't fair. But that's just what it is when you're in a minority, because we are not being prioritized by the government. We are not being prioritized by anything. All what these minorities people have their kids to educate them and make sure they can elevate not only themselves, the family, their siblings, the young siblings, so that the next generation can go without having the same pressures. So there's a lot of pressure on us.
There is.
There's a lot.
Especially if you're immigrant, and especially if you are the first to
generation.
Go to
Yeah.
your family,
God.
because, I was not technically the first. It's a shame because my dad did architecture at uni, but he didn't have the money to finish. So he went into drafting, went to Saudi, did that. Came here and then just became a chef, just because you know how it is. Qualifications that aren't complete, and especially qualifications that aren't British or from America. It's just redundant. So the fact is that I think, like I say, it's a privilege, because not only, is it a privilege to choose your passion over survival, it's a privilege that you don't have to worry about being, a high earner for your family that works so hard to get you into the position to make the choice of what career you can have. Getting to the point where I was in architecture and I only have one shot at choosing a degree that's paid for. The UK will only pay for one degree for you, one undergrad. I chose this one, and a part of me just was heartbroken when I found out that actually, I was enjoying myself and I was learning, and it was, this whole educational experience that otherwise I would never have had. But at the same time, I chose something that was just, was not going to get me the money that I could give back to my family who worked so hard to get me here. There is that pressure that we have to owe it back to our immigrant families that didn't have those opportunities.
Absolutely.
We feel like inadequate. We feel like we almost wasted an opportunity to just do something that got us the money, that got us whatever, that actually could have just been a passion project. We didn't have to do it as a career. Why didn't we just learn it online? Why didn't we just take a £100 course on it in the summer? Why did we choose this when we could have chosen something like law or medicine or engineering or real estate? The fact is that only immigrant families and immigrant children, first gens, will understand that struggle, will understand the struggle of being in architecture and not being adequately paid.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who be like, oh my God, I'm so broke. Like, I don't get paid so much. Oh my God. But when you think about it, it's like, these are, especially in Oxford, I'm throwing shots. Especially in Oxford Brooks. Like, Oxford Brooks, you get all these people that come in, it's like, oh my God, I'm so broke. Then they'll be wearing Louis Vuitton, Gucci. It's like me, I've never touched Louis Vuitton in my life. But it's fine. It's fine. It's not about that. It's not even about that. But it's like, when I used to say I was broke in uni, it means I was having Indomie for 1 week straight.
There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with Indomie.
Yeah, I
It's
love
fine.
Indomie.
But, you know,
I'm
it's
not
like,
gonna
it's a
lie.
struggle meal. Like when you does it for 1 week, or, you know, when you drink water before you sleep, you know, maybe next week I'll get some money. But it's like broke means broke, there's no money. And it's not like you can't ask your parents for money. Like there's no money for you. The money left is for your siblings at home. So you need to, I had to go and work in uni. And there's people that go to uni that do not have to worry about anything. Even if they're broke, you have something to go back to. But I feel like minorities, you have your friends, literally, you have your friends to go to. Because you can't, there's no parachute, there's no safety there for somebody else to come and help you, or your family member to come and help you, because there's no money. And I feel like that's what I'm saying. As Ray said, only minorities will understand. Only minorities will understand the struggle, how hard and what it means to be being an architect and not making money. It's hard. It's not even hard. It's triple the hardship of, let's say, our white peers.
I think it's even harder because I think we also need to recognize that being in this country and a minority, you haven't accumulated the generational wealth that some people have been accumulating for hundreds or maybe thousands of years. And I think that, and it's being a starting point, you have a very long way to go. And I think some people are in, you know, at the top of a very long line of waiting to be at the top. And I don't think that being a minority, we're nowhere near.
The line starts with you.
Huh?
The line starts with you.
The line starts with you. And so I think there's that pressure of kind of being right at the beginning, not really knowing what to do or where your career is going or how it's sort of spiraling. So yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, that might be all we have time for. But I just wanted to know, does anyone have like any sort of last minute points or advice for anyone that is kind of wanting to go into the career path, but sort of stuck on the idea of the salary and, you know, where it will take them, and kind of some of the issues that we've spoken about in terms of, you know, maybe being fulfilling for their families, or, you know, that they're just not quite sure how the salary will take them from one place to the other.
Okay, let me add.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm just going to go back to my point that really your salary is not going to get you where you have your like aspirations or your ambitions. The salary is not going to give you that. And like I said, you do have to negotiate and all of those things. But I think architects, we really need to show our value in other ways. And we need to be more than just architects. At the same time, I feel like we need to be entrepreneurs as well. We need to find ways to use our skills, maybe inside the practice or even outside the practice, and find ways to really use our skills to make more money that we feel like we deserve. But also just see as an opportunity to grow. Like, you don't need to just do architecture the way it's been set up already. Architecture is evolving, and we need to evolve with it, and we need to make sure that everyone knows that we can't be living on this anymore. We need to be vocal about it. We need to have conversations like this. We also need to tap into different avenues.
Yeah.
Like, really, like there's
Yeah,
a new world we're living in.
I can't even lie.
Well, I'm not gonna lie.
We do architecture, but
Really?
look, everyone. Wait. Let me just say this one
I
point.
agree with you.
Let me just say this one point.
Yeah.
Look, the metaverse. Everyone's talking about the metaverse online, and they're talking about 3D digital spaces. We spent 3 years, if you did undergraduate, modeling on maybe SketchUp, Prime, and all of these spaces. We already work in this new environment, which is going to be growing. Why don't we start using our opportunities to say, let's start working in these new spaces. The metaverse is fresh, it's new. Let's learn more about it, and then find ways to make money there, because there is a lot of money there.
Are you doing anything?
I'm not in the metaverse. I'm no children. I have like researched about it, and I have done little projects when it comes to NFTs. But I think architects, you just can't be limited. Like, a motto of mine is that the only limits are the ones that you set for yourself. So if you're setting yourself those limits, then that's what you're going to achieve. But if you feel like you can get more, go out there, find the help. And also, for me, I have to say favor from God, because you need people to open the doors for you. And you just have to pray that the favors are there for you.
Yeah, amen
That's
to
my 2
that.
cents.
Amen
That's
to
my 2
that.
cents.
That was
Amen.
beautiful
That's quite
said.
a nice
That
Yeah.
note.
Yeah.
And to be honest, okay, it's not that I don't agree with you. I
Okay.
agree, but I do feel like it's you know, you don't go and tell doctors, you know what, you're not getting paid more, you should go and do something else on the side.
Mm.
You don't tell lawyers, oh, you don't get paid enough, so go and find something else you can make money too. No, we are professionals. Come on, we are architects. Like, we have an important part. We do an important part in this life to build environment, like spaces, and we also like, or help people, like do, like, oh, I'm getting emotional. Like, you know, like environmental stable houses in Africa, we're changing people's lives. We're changing people's lives. So why do we have to go out of our way to use the multiple skills that we can use? But that should be a choice. It shouldn't be a forced.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be
A
enforced.
necessity.
That should
agree.
be a choice for us to be like, you know what, I can do this, I can do that. But not that we should be forced because we are not getting paid enough. So now, God, I need to do another 50 things. No. My advice is for you to speak up and know your value. When you can, part 1, part 2, whatever it is, know your value. That degree wasn't given to you for free. There are people who failed. The people didn't make it. The people got thirds. If you no, it's
Why
true.
did you put them in a
I'm not gonna lie, it's true. That people that did not make it. So, like, if you've made it, if you've graduated, just know that you graduated because you were worth it. You did it. So know your worth. And when they say the pay is 17K, kindly decline, because
Yeah.
they will go, no, kindly decline.
Yeah.
Because the risk gonna respectfully. Yeah, respect always. But there is gonna be that client who's that firm who's gonna pay for your worth. So just know that. And speak. Architects need to speak up. Do not say, oh, 17K, I will just take it. Because you find yourself working for part 1 at 17K for another 3 years. And life is not getting slower. Things are getting more and more expensive. So y'all need to speak up. And that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Well inside. This is just really enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah.
It's actually soaking.
Definitely. I don't know. Do you have any advice?
I think I've been quiet this episode.
You have.
You know, because I feel like it's such a touchy
It is.
topic, and I feel like Cindy vocalizes it well, because it makes you really question the industry you're in. And I think it's just quite sad because like we're saying, it's a luxury that we're able to even have the choice to study it, but it just doesn't reflect how much, like, we should be earning a lot more. But I think the last note I'll say is that we should have some sort of union. We really should. It's so sad that we don't have someone who that stands up for us in the industry. And yeah, it's just a shame really, but hopefully change will happen.
Definitely. So, Bethany, last but not least,
Advice or just my thoughts on the episode?
either or.
Yeah, I definitely stand with Cindy on this one. I didn't want to have to be working overtime. Do you know what I mean? To get what I deserve, like what I've worked for. It's not like we're asking. Obviously, you want to have more than enough, but at the moment where we are, it's less than enough. It's not even enough. So we're not even asking for too much. You know what I mean? We're actually asking for what should be given to us already.
Yeah, definitely.
And I definitely believe that speaking up about it is right. I don't know. One of us needs to instigate. Cindy, maybe you've got to start that strike.
Do you know what? And if I have to, I will. And I'm not even in architecture no more. But you know, you never know what the future holds. But I stand by all my fellow architecture students, my fellow architects, part 1, part 2, part 3, because I know I've done. Even though I've been in just a quarter of the journey, I just see the hard work. I just see this dedication that goes through each design, everything, and the struggle mentally, physically that goes through. And it's like there's a community that lifts you up, and then for you to get there and to not be recognized by the people that need to recognize you, it's just so heartbreaking for me. I feel like it's like you do all this job just to be like, okay, you're here. Like, we need the recognition. So I'm more than happy to, and I think like to me, it's not like me. I feel like 1 to 100 podcasts
Jeez.
is going to be the one who's going to talk about it. And as we said, we are offending respectfully. We're not here to sugarcoat things. We're not here to make it simple. We're not here to say, tiptoes. We're going to say how it is, because these are facts. This is not a myth. This is not opinions. These are things that are actually happening right now. And I feel like somebody's got to say something. And if it's got to be us, and if people are going to like it or not like it, we're going to speak our truth. And this is our truth. And that's that.
Absolutely. I think my advice would just be to read your contracts. Like, don't overlook it, and, kind of know where you stand from a legal standpoint as well. Like, don't accept just anything because you've heard of the role of an architectural assistant, because you've heard what it's like from other practices or other students or anything like that. Curate your career path because you can, and because it's yours and it's your life. And, the amount of the days that you spend in your room crying about your salary or anything like that, you can do something about it. And I think don't kind of sit back and take what is a norm, because it's a norm, it's a social norm, and if you say something, you have the ability to change it for not just yourself but for everybody else. So that would be my advice to y'all. Read the contract. But thank you so much, guys, everybody. Bola, especially for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We love having you, honestly.
I appreciate it,
Amazing. Our first live guest as well.
Okay. This is nice. I never knew that one.
Honestly. But you've been great. And everybody follow us on social media at I don't even know where I'm meant to be looking right now. Like over there? Okay. At 1 to 100 podcast. Email us if you'd like to collaborate, anything like that. It's just 1 to 100 podcast@gmail.com. And now obviously we're going to be on YouTube, so this is going to be on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. This is season 3, No Offence, and this is our first live studio session. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.